Hello and welcome to another episode of Do You Want More, a UFC stat show right here on the Monkmatics channel. I am your host Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this week's episode we're going to be breaking down all the stats for the prelim portion of this weekend's card, UFC Vegas 38, Johnny Walker versus Thiago Santos. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alejandro Perez taking on Johnny Eduardo. Bantamweight fight, Alejandro Perez. Let's see here. 5'6", 67-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, 32 years old. 21-8-1 professionally. He's 7-3-1 in the UFC. So a decent amount of fights here to open up the card, or a decent amount of experience, I should say. 36, almost 37% of Perez's fights go the distance in his career. 36.67 have ended by KO TKO, 9 wins, 2 losses, and 26, almost 27% have ended by sub, 5 wins, 3 losses. Johnny Eduardo, 5'7", 71-inch reach, so the bigger fighter here, Orthodox fighter. He is 43 years old. He was born in the 70s. He's 28-12 professionally, 3-4 in the UFC. 22.5% of his fights do go the distance. 27.5% have been ended by KO TKO, 10 wins, 1 loss, and 50% of his fights have come by way of submission ending. 11 wins, 9 losses there. So lots of finishes for these guys here. 19 knockout wins. What is that? 16 submission victories. Average fight time for Perez, 10.42 minutes, minus ass whoop index of 0.28. No power index and a bad chin dex as well, 1.48. The higher that number, the worse it is. Johnny Eduardo, average fight time, 8.5 minutes, minus 6 ass whoop index, 1.16 power index, and a perfect chin dex. This fight opened up Perez minus 200. He's currently minus 226. Eduardo opened up plus 170. He is currently plus 180. So not too much movement there. Currently, this fight is plus 125, does not go to decision. I'm capping this at Perez, 57%, Eduardo, 43%. Some finishing statistics there. I'm going to have to ditch this jacket. Don't get all excited. There is a shirt on under here. Let's see here. Round finishing data. A lot of first round finish wins and losses here for these guys. 5 round 1 finishes. And 5 round 2 finishes as well, just in the UFC. Basic striking data. Johnny Eduardo has the better accuracy, but everything else is pretty bad. He's toward the bottom of the division in a lot of these numbers. His defense actually isn't too bad, but it's not quite where Alejandro Perez's defense is either. Perez lands 3.52 strikes per minute. If I say strikes per minute, just means significant strikes per minute. He gets hit with 2.94 against per minute, 64.6% defense, 0.58 significant strikes landed per minute differential. Compared to Johnny Eduardo, doesn't land as much volume, takes more volume, worse defense, and a negative striking differential. Alejandro Perez, 85% of his total fight time has been fought at distance. Eduardo, 81.5% of his total fight time fought at distance. Knockdowns, none for Perez. He's been knocked down 5 times in the UFC. Oh my goodness. Johnny Eduardo has 2 knockdowns, never been knocked down. Let's see. Perez takedown accuracy, 20%. Lands half a takedown per 15 minutes. Gets 1 takedown landed against him per 15 minutes. 73% defense, so pretty good defense there. 1.75% takedown shooting rate. Johnny Eduardo's takedown data, 0 for 4 thrown. He has a 62.5% takedown defense, so it's all right, not great. 10 points lower than Perez. 0.88% takedown shooting rate. Control time data. Perez gets out-controlled, 6.6% to 8.39%. And he spent almost 15% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance. He's only controlled 44% of that grappling time. His get-up time is okay, 72 seconds, and he has an okay hold-down time as well, 113.5. Johnny Eduardo, only 1% control time, 17% against, so not a good look there. He spent 18.4% of his total fight time inside the distance. He's only controlled 6% of that grappling time. His get up time is pretty poor, 103.5. He has no hold down time because he has no takedowns. Submission attempts, 1 for Perez, unsuccessful. 6 submission attempts against him, 1 was successful. A couple attempts for and against for Eduardo. He has been subbed twice, I should say, in the UFC. No reversal numbers here. Let's see here. Eduardo's actually got the better defense and accuracy for the most part, but the volume is pretty much Perez. Striking efficiency and differentials, 3.08% to the head. 10% to the body. A couple negative numbers there. Inside the distance, Perez, 19% efficient. Much lower numbers for Eduardo in some of these categories, except his leg and distance striking is positive, where Perez was negative. Head striking differential, 0.7. Differential greater than his opponent's is Perez, and then negative 0.73 to the head for Eduardo. Half a distance, or half a strike at distance. And everything else is pretty close there. As far as head hunting goes, 80% of all significant strikes thrown from Alejandro Perez have been to the head, 5% to the body, and 15% to the legs. That's a pretty high leg striking number there. 74% strikes thrown to the head for Johnny Eduardo, 7% to the body, and even more to the legs than Perez, 19%. Over 95% of Eduardo's strikes have come from distance, compared to 87 for Perez. And here are the last 5 fights. We can take a look at that. Perez controls most of these numbers except for the striking accuracy and the volume, but that is pretty close. Other than that, Eduardo has a bunch of negative differentials here. Striking differential is almost, 3/4 of a strike negative. 1.5 takedowns negative. 16% control time negative differential. That's pretty bad. Perez's numbers not too much better, but he does have a positive striking differential there. And the ass whoop index not nearly as bad as it is for Johnny Eduardo. Eduardo also has the power index, though. He has scored 2 knockdowns in the past 5, none for Perez. And Eduardo's never been knocked down, at least in the last 5. Perez has been knocked down 1 time. Categorical trends compares what's happened in the last 5 to their career stats. So for the most part, Perez is on the decline here, except his takedown defense is better. Takedown landed against per 15 has also improved. And Eduardo low on 4 of his categories as well. Last 5 fights, strength of schedule, I should say, based on the last 5 professional fights. Numbers all around better for Perez, although they are a little bit close in some categories. You want to see these above 70, that's decent. We're right at that number for Eduardo in a couple of these, but Perez is looking much better. Much better strength of schedule there. Last 5 fights in the UFC. Both these guys have fought Matthew Lopez. Perez knocked him out in the 2nd round, and Eduardo was knocked out by Lopez in the 1st round. And then Eddie Wineland, they also, another common opponent. Let's see, Perez beat him by decision. Very close fight. And Eddie Wineland lost to Johnny Eduardo 1st round knockout there. So we'll move on to some graphs here. Trending down for Perez. His strikes per minute, while his opponents trend up. He is still above his opponent's average, though. Slowly trending up on takedowns while his opponents trend down, and same with control time, although he is also trending down. So not a good look on the ground for Alejandro Perez. Johnny Eduardo trending up in his striking, but his opponents are as well, and they are above him. No takedown defense in the last 5 to speak of, or control time for the most part. His opponents just do whatever they want if they have any kind of ground game against him. And we'll finish it off with the visual statistical recap. Perez in green here kind of has Eduardo dominated in all of these categories. Fight finishing metrics here, and then the strength of schedule, which also, as we said, belongs to Perez. And then the aggregate win-loss rates and finish rates here. Kind of tells you, if you should be betting inside the distance or not. So percent of wins, percent of losses, over 70 here. And even in the UFC, it is a little bit lower in the wins, but those losses still over 70% of their losses have been by way of finish. So that kind of breaks down what that is. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get back up to the top. On to the next fight. Shanna Young going against Stephanie Egger. This one shouldn't take long. Both of these ladies only have one fight in the UFC. Going to be a women's bantamweight fight. Young, 5'7", 65-inch reach orthodox fighter, 30 years old, 7-3 professionally, 0-1 in the UFC. Half of her fights do go the distance. She has finished one fight by knockout, 3 by sub, and she has been subbed once. Stephanie Egger, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 33 years old, also, or not also, but 3 years older, 2.5 years older than Shanna Young, 5-2 professionally, 0-1 in the UFC. 43% of her fights do go the distance. 29% of her fights have been ended by KO TKO. That's 2 wins, no losses. And she also has 2 sub wins, no sub losses on her professional record. Shanna Young, bad ass whoop index, second lowest in the division, negative almost 20. Never had a knockdown, never been knocked down. Stephanie Egger, also a very poor chindex, fourth lowest in the division, negative 11. Again, no knockdowns and no knockdowns either way, I should say. This line started, Shanna Young opened at -150, currently -133, so it is closing a little bit. Stephanie Egger opened +130. She's currently +110. This fight is a +165, does not go to decision. I'm capping this Stephanie Egger, but not by much. Definitely going to stay away from this fight unless I feel like, I don't know, maybe the fight goes the distance or something, but we'll see. Probably just going to stay away. Shanna Young lands 2.67 significant strikes per minute at a 56% accuracy in her UFC fight. Got hit with 5.7 strikes per minute at a 48% defense. That is a -3 strikes per minute differential. Pretty bad there. 40.5% of her UFC fight was fought at distance. Stephanie Egger only landed less than 1 strike per minute, 0.67, as the lowest in the division in her fight. 31% accuracy. Got hit with only 1.33 strikes per minute. 52% defense with a negative differential also of 0.67. So some pretty bad striking numbers on both sides of the spreadsheet here. Egger also only fought 19% of her total fight time at distance in her one fight. No knockdown numbers. Takedowns, none for Shanna Young. 3 were landed against her in her one fight. 62.5% defense. So whoever she fought, which we'll find out here shortly, threw 8 takedowns against her. Stephanie Egger on the other side landed 1 for 6. She stuffed 2 of 5, 40% defense, 18.75 takedown shooting rate there. Let's see, basic control time. Shanna Young controlled 2% of her fight and got controlled 57% of that fight. Spent 60% of it inside the distance and only controlled 4%. Similar numbers for Stephanie Egger, a bit better on the control time side, 14% for, but 66% against. 80% of her total fight time was fought inside the distance, and she only controlled 17.5% of that fight time. Yeah, not great numbers here from either one. We'll just kind of keep it moving. Striking numbers are either top of the charts or bottom of the charts. That usually means, that's usually a sign of lack of experience, lack of fight time. Efficiency numbers there. Head striking differential, Shanna Young, -1 per minute differential. -2 to the body. -2 clinch striking. Oh my goodness. And a bunch of negative numbers here for Stephanie Egger as well. As far as head hunting goes, 80% of the strikes Shanna Young threw were to the head. 75 to the head for Egger. Last 5 we can skip because these ladies only have 1 fight apiece. So I have no stats for that section. Strength of schedule in the last 5 professional fights here. I do go outside the UFC just for this stat. Stephanie Egger has the better strength of schedule, but it's not by much. Both of these are very poor numbers. 62 is not a good look. 56 is even worse, obviously. Then you're in the 50s and 40s here for Shanna Young. So towards the lower end of the fight card as far as strength of schedule goes on both sides. Shanna Young lost her fight to Macy Chiasson, 3-round decision. And Stephanie Egger lost her fight to Tracy Cortez, 3-round decision as well. Both of them were they lost by a pretty significant margin, it seems like here, according to their ass whoop index. A couple of graphs which we won't even look at because it's only 1 fight worth. And then the visual statistical recap. Professional fight finishing metrics. Egger has never been finished. And she also has the better strength of schedule. Better strength of schedule as we discussed. Wait. Sorry. Yeah, that's correct. I had it backwards in my head. And there are no wins in the UFC. That's why this is blank over here. And we will go on to the third fight of the prelims. Longest name on the card. Douglas Silva de Andrade going against Gaetano Pirrello. I think it's Italian, so Pirrello. I don't know. We'll say Pirrello because I don't know how to pronounce things. Let's see. This fight is going to be at bantamweight. So Andrade, 5'7", 68-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, 36 years old, 26-4 professionally, 4-4 in the UFC. 26% of his fights do go the distance. He's won 19 of his fights by knockout, been knocked out once. Has a sub win and a sub loss on his record as well. Gaetano, 5'7", 68-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, 29 years old, 15-6-1 professionally. He's 0-1 in the UFC. Only 13.5% of his fights go the distance. He has 11 knockout wins, 1 knockout loss, 3 sub wins, and 4 submission losses there. De Andrade, a -4 ass whoop index in his career, 0.5 power index, so right about, average for the division, and never been knocked down, so a great number there of 0. Gaetano, average fight time, or is 1 fight, 9 minutes, -43 ass whoop index, no knockdowns for or against. Andrade opened at -200, he's currently -231. I have no other numbers for this fight quite yet. Perrello opened at +170, he's currently +185. I'm capping this, all the way up to apparently, 323 without any of those finish numbers. So I think you can still load up on Andrade here. Finishing numbers there, a couple of finish wins and losses. And then the striking. De Andrade, 3.77 strikes landed per minute, 38% accuracy, not great there. Gets hit with 4.26 strikes a minute, 58.6% defense, ends with a negative striking differential of half a strike. Not good striking numbers there. Negative efficiency. He spends 85% of his fight time at distance. Let's see here. Gaetano landed only 0.67. Again, this is 2 fights in a row. 0.67 strikes landed per minute in his 1 fight. 42% accuracy. Got hit with 1.89 at a 47% defense, but still has a negative striking differential of -1.22. That is 59th out of 72 in the actually it's 59th out of 73 in the bantamweight division. He's also has a negative striking efficiency. Only fought 22% of that fight at distance. No knockdown numbers for Gaetano. 2 knockdowns for Douglas. No knockdowns against. Andrade, 0.7 takedowns landed per 15, 50% accuracy. Gets hit with twice that at 67% takedown defense. So not great, but not too poor. Takedown efficiency, 16.6%. Pirrello, no takedown numbers to speak of. Only a 30% defense. Wow. Not a good look there. Basic control time, 4% for Silva, 12% against. Spent 15% of his fight time inside the distance and only controlled 25% of that fight time. 65-second get-up time, 48-second hold-down time. Gaetano, as far as control time goes, 0, and he was controlled 77.5% of his fight. Not a good look there. Not at all. And he was submitted in that fight. Dun-dun-dun. Not great numbers here. In fact, we're not really going to look at Gaetano's side just because the lack of volume really skews the numbers there. Douglas, however, we can take a look. Pretty run-of-the-mill numbers, even some of them towards the lower end of the division. But I'd say about average overall. Bad efficiency. Negative efficiency from everywhere. Negative striking differential from almost everywhere. Last 5 for Douglas, -9 ass whoop index. I mean, he's negative in all of his differentials here. So not a great number. We'll see what he can do against Gaetano. Maybe they're kind of giving him a little gimme here. I don't know why they would. He is 36 years old, but he does have a bunch of fights in the UFC, so I don't know. This one seems like a gimme, though. I mean, the strength of schedule is the big thing for Douglas Silva de Andrade. Look at these numbers. This is towards the higher end on the card, of the entire card for strength of schedule. We're in the 80s and mid-70s, and he's going against a guy that is barely 50 in some of these, you know, 60, 80 as far as strength of defeat goes, but that's just because he lost to Ricky Simone, or Ricky Simon. I don't know why I put accents when there probably shouldn't be. But Douglas, look at his losses. I mean, look at his last 5 here. This is quite a collection of names. Lerone Murphy, who is undefeated. He is an undefeated fighter. Renan Barão, former champion. Peter Yan, former champion. Soon to be current champion again, most likely. Chito Vera and Rob Font, possibly in the running for the belt in another fight, or even before that. So, I mean, Douglas has some pretty poor number. I mean, he's 2-3 in his last 5, but he beat Barão and he beat Chito Vera. His losses are to some really, really good fighters. That's why these strength of schedule numbers are so high. And as far as graphs go, he is trending down in almost every category. Opponent trending up in control time. But his opponents are pretty much have the better of him everywhere. But that is the caliber of opponent, as we said. Look at these numbers here, though. Going against Pirrello, has him dominated. Pretty much dominated in the fight finishing metrics, and definitely the strength of schedule, like we said. I think Douglas Silva de Andrade really gets to shine here. I think he has an opportunity to shine against an unproven Gaetano Pirrello here, who does have plenty of experience, but not UFC experience. Next fight, Devontae Smith. How many fights? So this is the 4th one. Going against Jamie Mullarkey. This is a lightweight fight. Smith, 5'9", 76-inch reach, orthodox fighter. Only 28 years old. 11-2 professionally. 3-1 in the UFC. He's never had a fight go the distance. 92% of his fights have come by way of knockout. 10-4, 2 against. And he does have 1 sub win on his record as well. Jamie Mullarkey. 6 feet tall, 74-inch reach, so taller but not as lengthy. Orthodox fighter, 27 years old, so 1 year younger, almost to the day. 13-4 professionally, 1-2 in the UFC. 17.6% of his fights do go the distance. 64.7% of his fights have been ended by way of knockout. 9-4, 2 against, and then he does have 3 sub wins on his record as well. Huge ass whooping index number for Devontae Smith here, 22.47. That is 6th best in the lightweight division. 2.47 power index, huge number, 4th highest in the division as well, but a very poor chindex, 2nd lowest in the division. Jamie Mullarkey, 5.9 ass whoop index, pretty good number there. 1.61 decent power index, I mean top 10, and a perfect chindex. So this is going to be a banger, as the kids say. This opened up -110, so pick 'em. Smith currently -160, Mullarkey currently +132. I do agree with that. Smith side there. Some finishing data, bunch of finishes here. 4 finishes in the first round between them in the UFC, 1 in the second. And then some striking data. This is all Devontae Smith. Look at these numbers. Fantastic. Top 20 in most of this. Top 10 in a few of them. Well, I should say top 15. You know, lands 4.6 strikes per minute, 52% accuracy. Gets hit with less than half of that. 2.11 strikes per minute at a 60.6% defense. Striking differential, 4th best in the lightweight division, 2.51 per minute. Fantastic. 13% striking efficiency, and he spends 80% of his fight time fighting at distance, right where he wants to be. Jamie Mullarkey on the other side. I mean, these are top 10 lowest numbers in the division, ends up with a -2.63 striking differential per minute. Gets hit with over 4.5 strikes per minute. Gets hit with basically what Devontae hits people with, so this matches up pretty nicely for the most part. Negative efficiency, and spends only 52.5% of his time fighting at distance. Devontae Smith, 2 knockdowns, 1.71 knockdowns per 15, but he has been knocked down 1 time as well. That's why he has that huge chindex number. Jamie Mullarkey does have a knockdown, 0.49 knockdowns per 15. So not even close to Devontae Smith's power. Takedowns, not much to speak of for the Smith side. Does have 100% accuracy and defense because he finished 1 and stuffed 2. Mullarkey on the other side, 30% accuracy, lands 3.9, almost 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. That is 6th highest in the division. He attempts almost 13 takedowns per 15 minutes. Wow, that is some high volume as far as takedowns go. Shoots 14.44%. That's the 3rd highest takedown shooting rate. And he has an okay takedown defense of 67%. Basic control time, Devontae Smith killing his opponents 18% to 1%. Spends only 19.5% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance, but he does control that fight time at 93% rate. Pretty good time there. Has a decent hold down time, 12th in the division at 193 seconds. Jamie Mullarkey, 33.74% control time to 13.5, so very good as well. 2.5 ratio. 47% of his total fight time has been spent inside the distance, and he's controlled 71% of that grappling time. Has an okay get up time at 125 seconds, so 2 minutes, so that's not very good actually. And a not great hold down time either, 78 seconds. Let's see here. Look at these striking numbers. Mullarkey wins on leg striking accuracy per minute and clinch striking defense. Literally everywhere else is Devontae Smith, and it's not even close. Mullarkey is towards the bottom 10 of the division in majority of these numbers. Not even close. Striking efficiency, these are fantastic numbers from Smith, except for inside the distance. He is pretty negative there, but still much better than Mullarkey. And we got positive numbers in every single differential category here with a 2 per minute differential to the head, 1.5 at distance. I mean, great numbers here, and very poor numbers from Mullarkey. Not a headhunter either is Smith. 75% of all strikes he's thrown have gone to the head, 10 to the body, and 14 to the legs. So pretty good there, and some decent numbers as far as disbursement goes for Mullarkey as well. Last 5 fights we don't even have to look at because neither one of them have 5 UFC fights. Strength of schedule, not great for either one, but Devontae Smith pretty much takes this category, and it's not even close until you get to strength of defeat. That's mostly the Brad Riddell fight, I would imagine. And the comma-worthy knockout, not a good look for Smith. But again, like we said, every single one of his fights has come by way of finish, mostly knockdowns. And some graphs here. Trending down as far as striking goes, but still way above his opponent. Trending up as far as takedowns and control time. Opponents are not even close. And it's the exact opposite as far as striking goes for Mullarkey. Opponents way above him, but he is trending up at a very steep rate. Control time and takedowns look great for Mullarkey. And then the visual statistical recap. Devontae Smith killing it over here, but the takedown numbers are very small sample size. Please keep that in mind. And then the finish numbers. Smith has no Chindex because his 2 fights that he lost, he got finished. And then the strength of schedule here. Yeah, I think this one goes to finish, guys. Jamie Mullarkey and Devontae Smith. I mean, professionally, 96% of the fights of their wins have come by way of finish, I should say, and 2/3 of their losses as well. So this should be an interesting one. Just depends on if Smith is going to be taken down or not. We'll move it along to Carol Rosa. Women's bantamweight fight going against Betch Correia. Rosa, 5'5", 67-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 26 years old, 14-3 professionally, 3-0 in the UFC. Half of her fights have gone to decision, I should say. 4 wins by knockout, 2 wins by sub, 2 losses by sub. Correia, 5'5", 64-inch reach, 38 years old, 11-5-1, 5-5-1 in the UFC. 71% of her fights go the distance, only 2 knockout wins, 2 knockout losses, and 1 submission loss in her career. Rosa's ass whoop index 4th best in the division at a 13.35. She has a top 10 power index as well and a perfect chindex. The complete opposite for Correia. Pretty low ass whoop index, no power index, and a big chindex in the division of a 0.32. Rosa opened at minus 275, third highest on the card. She's currently the second highest on the card, minus 344. Plus 190, this fight does not go to decision. Correia opened plus 235. She's currently plus 262. I'm very heavily leaning Carol Rosa here for obvious reasons. No finishes for Rosa in the UFC. All these finish numbers are from Correia. Striking, third highest for Rosa, 7.73 strikes landed per minute. Wow, 52.5% accuracy. Gets hit a lot though, 5.5 strikes per minute, 49% defense, but a very good 2.22 strikes landed per minute differential, fourth highest in the division. Positive striking efficiency, and she spends 58% of her fight time fighting at distance. Correia on the other side gets hit or throws a decent amount, 4.39 landed per minute, 44% accuracy. Gets hit with more than that though, 4.56 per minute, 58.5% accuracy. Ends with a negative 0.17 strikes landed per minute differential. 19th in the division out of 29 fighters. 2.5% efficient and spends 78.5% of her fight time at distance. Knockdown data, 1 for Rosa, 0 for Correia, and she has been knocked down twice. Takedown data, 2 takedowns landed per 15 minutes for Carol Rosa, 60% accuracy, 5th highest in the division. She also has the 3rd best takedown defense in the bantamweight division, 90%. 50% takedown efficiency, number 2 there. Looking great as far as takedown numbers go. Okay for Correia, just not as good as Rosa. I mean, her takedown defense, 84.2, fantastic. Only 20% accuracy though. Basic control time data, 40% for Rosa, only 1% against. My goodness, that's a 36 ratio. 41% of her fight time has come inside the distance, and she controls 97% of that fight time. 30-second get-up time, 181-second hold-down time. Great numbers here for Carol. Correia on the other side, 14% for, 7% against as far as control time. So pretty good, 2-1. 22% of her total fight time has come inside the distance, and she does control majority of that fight time, 66%. Terrible get up time and a very good hold down time. Reversal data, not too much to look at. Striking data, it's mostly Rosa here as far as accuracy and defense go. Mostly, you know, top 10, top 15 numbers as far as I see. Striking efficiency and differentials looking pretty good for Rosa. I guess okay, but much better than Correia as far as most of these categories go. Rosa outstriking her opponents to the head, body, I mean, everywhere. She's got positive striking differentials. Over 1.16 ground strike differential per minute. That is a crazy number for a women's bantamweight fighter. Love to see it. And then last 5, we don't really have to look at except for Correia's getting smashed. She does have 11 fights. So, I mean, in her last 5, she has a negative ass whoop index of negative 6.34. Chindex is bad, 0.28. Carol Rosa, perfect chindex right there. And Correia has been trending down in majority of her categories here. Strength of schedule is going to go to Carol Rosa, and it's not even close, really. I mean, the actual strength of schedule is close, but the other categories are not. And the last 5 fights, Rosa, perfect in the UFC. Correia, only 1 win, 1-3-1 in her last 5. Her one win coming against Sijara Eubanks in a unanimous decision in which the metrics say she lost the fight. I mean, a negative 4.6 ass whoop index. Let's see, she got outstruck. She had a takedown landed against her, and she got out-controlled. But somehow she won the fight. All right. And she got her ass whooped in the Marion Renault fight, which was a draw, where she also got outstruck. She did land 2 takedowns to 0, but she did get out-controlled. And then as far as graphs go, she is trending up in every single category, Rosa. Love to see it. And her numbers are way above her opponent's numbers. I mean, this 7.73 strikes per minute is crazy. And then the exact opposite for Correia. opponents above her averages and trending up, or she's above her opponent's average but trending down while they trend up. And then the visual statistical recap. Carol Rosa, I don't know. Does she get a finish? Probably not. Doesn't look like it. This is probably going to go to decision. But I think Carol Rosa has Correia pretty much dominated here. Casey O'Neill going against Antonina Shevchenko. 2 Shevchenko fight weeks back-to-back. O'Neill, 5'6", 69-inch reach, orthodox stance, 23, almost 24 years old. Let's see here. This is going to be a flyweight fight. 7-0 professionally. She is 2-0 in the UFC. 43% of her fights do go the distance. 2 have come by way of KO ending, and 2 by way of submission ending. Shevchenko, 5'8", 67-inch reach, southpaw stance, 36 years old, 9-3 professionally, 3-3 in the UFC. 58% of her fights have gone the distance. 25% have ended by knockout, with 3 knockouts for, none against. And she has 1 sub and 1 sub against on her record as well. Casey O'Neill with a terrific ass whoop index, second highest in the women's flyweight division, 29.83. That is a huge number there. She's whooping some ass in her 2 fights in the UFC. No power, so no knockdowns there, but a perfect chindex, never been knocked down. Shevchenko, negative 4.48 ass whoop index. No, not looking good there. No power and no chin as well on this side. Casey O'Neill opened minus 300, has somehow closed to a minus 213. We're going to have to look at these stats here. That's interesting. Minus 110 fight does not go to decision for a women's fight here. Shevchenko plus 250. Average line currently plus 171. I'm capping this fight for O'Neill. 58-42. Couple of finishes there. And then striking data. I mean, Casey O'Neill in her 2 fights in the UFC, which have lasted about 20 minutes or so. 22 minutes, I think. Let's go up and look so I'm not wrong. 21.5. So a decent sample size there. Top 10 numbers here. Look at these numbers, even in defense. I mean, lands 5.5 strikes a minute, 61% accuracy, gets hit with only 2.6. 39% defense isn't great, but she ends up with a 2.92 strike per minute differential, second highest in the division. 25% of her fight time fought at distance. Shevchenko, she has okay numbers. 3.29 strikes landed per minute, decent accuracy, 2.9 strikes landed against per minute. That's top 10. 51% defense, positive striking differential of 0.40. So, you know, less than 2.5 strikes per minute different than Casey O'Neill. 4.6% efficient and spends 35.8% of her total fight time fighting at distance. No knockdown data for either one of these ladies. Takedown data, 62% accurate is Casey O'Neill. She lands 3.48 takedowns per 15, second highest in the division. She only gets hit with 1.39 takedowns per 15 at a 60% defense, so not the best, but not terrible either. 4% takedown shooting rate at a 22.5% takedown efficiency. So pretty good numbers here from Casey O'Neill. On the other side, okay numbers from Shevchenko. You know, much less volume, less accuracy, more volume against, worse takedown defense by a lot. No takedown efficiency, or she's perfectly zero, I should say. Basic control time, 4-1, 4.3-1 for Casey O'Neill. 61% for, 14% against. Fights 75% of her total fight time inside the distance, and she controls 81% of that time just ground and pound. Shevchenko gets out-controlled on average 27% to 37%. Spends 64% of her total fight time fighting inside the distance. Controls only 42% of that fight time. So not great numbers there for Shevchenko. And then we'll go down to the striking numbers. These are mostly Casey O'Neill, and it's not really close. Shevchenko has her moments here, but like I said, mostly O'Neill, especially as far as offense, and then the major defensive categories. And then the ground, my goodness, the ground. Negative efficiency in a couple of places for Casey O'Neill. And then negative for Shevchenko as far as inside the distance striking efficiency. But look at this head striking differential. 2.73 per minute difference. 1 strike per minute difference as far as distance. I mean, these numbers are fantastic. Gets outstruck in the clinch, however. Something you might have to pay attention to. But we'll see if Shevchenko can even get in there. Last 5 fights. We can look at it for Shevchenko. It's not looking good. -7 ass whoop index, almost -8. She's trending down in every single category except for striking accuracy and takedown defense. I mean, her significant striking defense in her last 5 compared to her career is down 10%. Strength of schedule. This one's going to go to Antonina Shevchenko, but it is a little bit close. Neither one of these ladies has a great strength of schedule in the last 5 whatsoever. There are the last 5 fights in the UFC. And then the graphs, everyone's favorite part. We got Casey O'Neill shining over here, and it's not really even close. And then some crazy graphs for Shevchenko. My goodness, she's all over the place. Trending down and striking while her opponent trends up. Way below her opponent in takedowns. She is trending up in control time, but she has some work to do there still. And then the basic fight metrics. Casey O'Neill pretty much has her dominated, except for the strength of schedule here. Yeah. Not too bad, not too bad. Leading Casey O'Neill on that side, maybe even by finish. We'll have to see. And then we're going to finish off the prelim card with Joe Solecki going against Jared Flash Gordon. Lightweight fight. Solecki, 5'9", 70-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 28 years old, 11-2 professionally, 3-0 in the UFC. Average fight time of 11.28 minutes. 21.15 ass whoop index, 7th highest in the division. Does not have any knockdowns in the UFC, but a perfect chin dex. Never been knocked down in the UFC here. 30% of Joe Solecki's fights have gone the distance. 15% have come by way of knockout, but over 50% have come by submission win. Jared Gordon, 5'9". He is moving up a weight class for this fight. 5'9", 68-inch reach, or at least his last fight was at featherweight. He is 33 years old, 17-4 professionally, 5-3 in the UFC. See, 43% of his fights do go the distance. 48% of his fights come by TKO or KO ending. 6 wins, 4 losses. And he also has 2 submission wins on his record. Average fight time, a little bit less than Joe Solecki. Ass whoop index, a little bit less than Joe Solecki. Same power, which is to say 0. And a much, much worse chin dex, 0.73. That is 59th in the lightweight division out of 76. Opening lines here, almost a pick'em. -115 for Solecki. He is currently -148. This fight is a -175. Does go to decision. Jared Gordon opened -105, currently +121. I'm leaning pretty good for Solecki here. Finishing data, as far as the UFC goes, a couple of finishes there. And the striking data, 2.6 strikes landed per minute for Joe Solecki, 66.6% accuracy, 3rd highest in the division. Only got hit with 0.89 strikes against per minute, 3rd highest in the division. 3rd lowest in the division rather. 57% defense, 1.71 striking differential per minute. Very good numbers there. 24% striking efficiency. Has spent 21% of his total fight time fighting at distance. No knockdowns to speak of for or against. Jared Gordon on the other side. Much higher volume. 5.5 strikes landed per minute. 56% accuracy. Gets hit, however, with many more strikes than Solecki does. 3.22 per minute at a 60% defense. Striking differential even higher than Solecki. 2.32 per minute. 6th highest in the division. His striking efficiency, 16.8%. 6th best, and he spends 46% of his total fight time fighting at distance. No knockdowns for Jared Gordon, 2 against, however. And he did lose both of those fights. Or I should say he did lose all fights in which he had been knocked down. Basic takedown data, 2.2 per 15 landed for Joe Solecki, 45% accuracy, never been taken down, not even an attempt. And he does have an 8.33% takedown shooting rate. Jared Gordon on the other side lands a decent amount, even more than Solecki, 2.81 per minute, or per 15 minutes at a 39% accuracy. Does have takedowns against landed on him, however, at a 55% defense, so not great. Stuffed 5 of 9. 4.89 takedown shooting rate. Basic control time data. My goodness, Joe Solecki is killing this category. 72 to 6. That is an 11 to 1 ratio. Controls 70 or spends 78.68% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance. He's controlled 91% of that fight time. Just an insane number there. Jared Gordon on the other side, also, you know, a huge control time ratio, 9 to 1, 48% to 5%. Fights or spends 54% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance, and he controls 90% of that total grappling time. Just insane numbers from these guys as far as control time goes. So this one is going to be interesting. A couple reversals for Jared Gordon, one against. Let's see, half the time Jared Gordon's had a takedown landed against him, he has reversed it. And then a lot of these striking numbers, especially the accuracy and the defense, are going to go to Solecki, and the defensive numbers as well, for the most part, are going to favor Solecki, with the offensive volume numbers favoring Gordon in a few of those categories. Efficiency, Solecki's killing it. Look at these insanely high efficiency numbers. And we've got some decent numbers for Gordon here too, but just not as high as Solecki. I mean, 1.29 head strike differential per minute, 1 distance strike per minute, a couple of negative numbers as far as body and clinch go, 1.27 ground strikes per minute differential. Fantastic numbers. Jared Gordon, even better in some of these categories. 2.46 differential to the head, 1.71 differential to the ground. These guys are coming to throw. Undoubtedly. Last 5, I mean, Joe Solecki, same stats as above. He only has 3 fights. Jared Gordon, 11.78 ass whoop index, no power, and that chindex, though. He does get knocked down, or has been knocked down once. I mean, these differentials are off the charts, you guys. These are crazy. This one's going to be a really good fight. Like I said, I am leaning Joe, but look at the strength of schedule here. Dominated by Jared Gordon. It's not even close. Gordon has one of the higher strength of schedule numbers on the card. Top 5 in these categories, top 10 as far as losses go. He's fought some good people here, and he's over 75 in every single category. You know, Joe Solecki barely touches 65. You know, Jim Miller, Austin Hubbard, Matt Wyman. Meanwhile, Jared Gordon has fought, you know, Charles Oliveira. Ever heard of him in his past 5? You know, Danny Chavez. You know, a couple of people, but they have good records. That's why that strength of schedule number is so high. Couple of graphs here. Joe Solecki is killing it in his 3 fights. I mean, no one's even come close to him. He's trending so high up as far as striking goes, way above his opponents. Takedowns not even close. Control time, give me a fucking break. 72 to 6. Get out of here. Gordon trending down, but he is above his opponents here in every category. Trending down in takedowns. Control time looking even better. 52 to 6. I mean, some good looking graphs there from both guys. Joe Solecki looking decent, but has no hasn't been able to show any kind of ground game. No takedown defense. But no takedowns have been attempted against him. That's why he has no takedown defense. And then Gordon here with the huge strength of schedule advantage. And then the aggregate win-loss and finish rates there. Yeah, this one is a perfect candidate for goes to decision, I think. But hey, 100% in their finished losses. That's 3 losses. Gordon has been finished in all 3 of his losses here. So maybe this is a Solecki finish, Gordon decision kind of thing if you're playing that game. All right, guys, we did it. Just under 50 minutes so far. That was all 7 fights for the UFC Vegas 38 prelims. Be sure to stay tuned for the main card, which will also be released pretty much right after this one. In fact, by the time you're watching this part of this video, that video will be out, the main card. We do have 6 fights on that main card, headlined by Thiago Santos and Johnny Walker. So this fight card is a low-key banger, guys. Make sure you do your fight tape study as well. Combine it with all these numbers that I'm giving you. And you're going to take the bookies, man. I mean, my picks have been getting better and better every single week, just by tracking them. I'm slowly, building up some units here. I'm making smarter and smarter plays, and it's all because of tape study and stat study. So just do your homework. If you're going to be putting money on something like this, do your homework. It's much better when you win. It feels very good. It also feels kind of shitty though when you lose. But if you do your homework, you're going to be winning more than you're losing. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Catch you on the next one. Have a wonderful week and enjoy those fights. Peace out.